Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the broadcast. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. It is Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. I'm here with you for another show. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome to everybody out there, all truth seekers and people hungry for wisdom and knowledge and information. I welcome you all, fellow travelers. We all are here. And going to be getting into a lot of different stuff for you on the show here tonight. A lot of different topics, so strap in, get ready for them all. Don't forget, again, as I mentioned the other night, we're going to have our questions rolling all through the month. Be sure to check out the perks on the campaign page. We're doing the same thing we did last month, so doing it all month instead of just towards the end of the month. So if you have a question or a topic you want to hear me address, get into on the show, love to have your suggestions. You just contribute $100 to the campaign page. You also get any 5 downloads you want from the download shop for $100 and a question. For $200, you can get the complete download collection. It's the digital box set, the digital version of the box set, which contains all my work, and a question for the show for a $200 contribution. And that's our goal right now, is just to raise $200. So if we get 2 questions in, or one person with a question by tomorrow, that'd be great. Got to keep the internet on and stuff here at the studio. So, one person comes in the $200 level, you'll get the complete download collection. It's all my work. It's all over like $300, so it's a good deal. And you get a question for the show. We also have the box sets on sale this week. They're $175 is the regular price, which is already discounted from buying them separately, as I mentioned. This week only, through Sunday, you can get the complete download box set. It's on sale right now in the download shop. Price list, it's on sale this week only for $150. So that's a fairly new addition to the download shop, because there was never that function before. That's something they recently changed, like the past month. There was never the function where you could associate more than one file with one product to sell in the download shop. So since they changed that now, that allowed me to make collections for all the films and also the complete download collection box set, which I wasn't able to do before. So because of that, we got that on sale this week. And if everybody can get downloads of that, get yourself a membership to the archives, and also contribute there to our fundraisers, that will help, so we can at least keep the lights, the internet on, the lights on. That's the main thing right now. Again, we came up like $700 short last month. We've still been trying to dig out of that. We're already in the middle of the month now, and we haven't gotten a lot of support. So let's get those questions and those contributions in this week. And I'll do my best to get into all of that stuff. The thing about it, listen, this is not the kiddie pool. I don't pull punches here. I don't fucking tell people anybody, and I shouldn't even have to say this because the majority of people know this. But sometimes you get new people that come in and listen. They don't know your style and stuff, and they sometimes get confused. I never tell people what they want to hear. I never do. I've never done that. I could have made that decision when I first started my show, when I first found out about the Council for National Policy, the first week I started the show in September 2007. I could have made the decision right then to not talk about that information, to ignore it, and to go along to get along, and just go along with the truth movement and do what everybody else was doing. And believe me, I could have made a lot more money and been a lot bigger than I was had I made a different decision. But I've always made a decision that truth is the number one thing, the number one most important thing. And that's how I give it to you. I give it to you straight. I don't water it down. I don't hold your fucking hand. You got to put your big fucking boy pants on if you're going to be in this side of the fucking water. And that's all there is to it. Most people know that, but sometimes I have to go back and reiterate that. Because the problem is that you got people who take this stuff seriously, and you got people who know how serious it is and really have a vested interest in gaining as much knowledge about all this as they can. But then you got other people that I would call, what, I don't know, spectator truthers, I guess. But it's just entertainment to them, and it's not about knowledge. It's about sheer entertainment. And so they want to live in this fantasy dream world where, everybody, it's one big happy kumbaya movement and everybody's holding hands and everybody gets along and, it's, nobody has to pay bills or pay for costs, everything, and everybody just gets everything for free. And it's just, and that's just not reality at all. It's not a big fucking hold your hand kumbaya thing. And, like I was talking about the other night, this thing where, I'll talk about any subject, just say, hey, what do you think about this and this? And that was like the 150th time that something like that's happened, where you get somebody that wants you to comment. They don't want to hear what you want to know about anything. They want to hear what you think about what somebody else said. Because oftentimes these people try to make, and then they'll go make videos and say, such and such said this about, and they don't try to make phony beefs and try to make this versus this guy. And I just don't have time to participate in that bullshit. And if I think I see it coming around the corner, I shut it down pretty quick. I don't want anything to do with that. And the problem is, man, a lot of people don't want the truth. They say they do. They think they do. They may make themselves believe they do. A lot of people don't. They don't want the real truth. They don't want you to shoot them straight. They want you to they want you to give them a bullshit version of the truth that fits into their already pre-established kumbaya vision of what some phony, non-existent truth movement should be. You know what I mean? And it's one of the most frustrating things that I've had to deal with, and I've had to deal with it constantly since I've been doing this. And listen, you ask scary questions, you're going to expect to get scary answers. I'm not going to, I shoot it straight. I don't fucking candy coat it. I don't sugarcoat it. You ask me about something, I'm going to give it to you in the most straightforward, straight up way that I can, because that's the only way I can be. I'm incapable of giving a bullshit answer to something. So, it's frustrating when people get mad at you because you answered a question that they asked you. Put yourself in my shoes, man. All I can do is be me. And I have one way of doing that. And I can't be expected to know from case to case, this guy asked me a question about this. What do I do? Do I sugarcoat and tell him what he wants to hear, or do I give it to him straight? No, that doesn't even come into my mind. I just give it to you straight 100% of the time. But, you can't get mad at me when you ask me a straight question and I give you a straight answer, and then the straight answer that I give you isn't what you wanted, or it hurts your feelings, or it shatters your illusion of the paradigm you built up. You can't blame me for that. If you ask me a straight up answer and I give you a straight up question, like it or not, that's it. But it's frustrating. I've had to deal with it a lot. Probably one of the more, I get a lot. There are a lot of questions I get. A lot of people always want to know, I don't even address them on the show because I'll get emails and stuff about it, a million of them. What do you think about this? What do you think about this guy? And I've answered it a million times. I've said it a million times on the show. And then you give them a straight answer and they get butthurt. It's frustrating. And that's something I grapple with a lot. I grapple with that a lot when I'm making these films too. There's stuff I come across, I'm like, man, people aren't ready for this. That's happened 100 times. I come across stuff sometimes that I'm reluctant to talk about, only because I know that a lot of people out there just aren't ready for it yet. There's a lot of stuff. If you ask me a straight question, we give you a straight answer. That's all there is to it. I'm not going to candy coat it. But probably one of the biggest ones I get, probably besides, where can I go see the rock wall at? Even though I've said a million times, talked about it a million times, and tried to have digs. You can't go see it, motherfuckers. It's buried under the goddamn city, under the town. If you could just go out there and see it, what would be the point of trying to fucking, put together a dig? Are you still going to have a rock wall dig? Yeah, I'm still going to have a rock wall dig as soon as somebody comes up with about $1.5 million for us to do it. And a piece of property that they can buy or lease or already own. I mean, there's a million factors, man. I've priced this thing out 3 or 4 separate times. I can't tell you how many emails. I still get emails. Oh, I want to participate in this rock wall dig. Well, participate in coming up with the money. And then they disappear and you never hear anything from them again. Everybody wants it. I can't tell you, thousands of people have begged me, written me emails. Oh, I have to be a part of this. Nobody wants to do anything to help make it happen. It's just like, it's the same thing with the operating cost stuff, on a smaller scale. I can't tell you how many people want to. Oh, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. But nobody wants to help make it. Well, they want me to be the sole responsible person for making it happen. And then when I make it happen, they want me just to allow this person I don't even know from Adam to just come and be a part of it without having to put up anything. That's bullshit. You want to be a part of it, you got to have a stake in it. Same thing with contributing, man. Same thing. But I still get people, I want to see the rock wall. I'm going on a road trip. Can you tell me how to go see the rock wall? I get that like every other fucking week, even though I said it a million times. You can't, if it was fucking able to go see it, what would be the point in trying to have a fucking dig? But besides that, the other biggest one I get is people want to know what I think about Bill Cooper. And see, I'm reluctant to even talk about it now. I mean, I've talked about it before, but because people don't want the real truth. They just want their cuddly, celebrity version of, it's such bullshit, man. And that's not my responsibility. That can't be my fault. I have never once, a day in my life since I've been doing this, ever done a show, a movie, anything else where I gave anybody a watered down version of the truth. I've always gave one. And so getting mad at me and being angry at me because you asked me a fucking question and I gave you a fucking answer, that's on you, dude. That's on you. That's not on me. But Bill Cooper, no, people don't, I get people want to ask me about that all the time, but I always tell them the same thing. You don't want to know the truth on that. Oh, I do. Oh, I really do. And then you tell them the truth, and what happens? Butthurt. They get butthurt. That's the one. That's the one the most. When I give people the truth about, the real truth about, unwatered down, unfiltered, they get butthurt about. And taking it out on me and saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna donate because I didn't like what you said about Bill Cooper," or whatever else. What a fucking turd child you are. I give you asked me for the truth. You claim you want the truth. That's a problem. That's a big thing. Most people don't want the truth. Most people don't. Very few people. It's been my experience that very few people want it. They want it up to a certain point. And if you go past whatever that predefined line they've set for themselves in their brain is, you become the enemy. And that's bullshit. But that's unfortunately how I would say probably 80% of people who call themselves truth seekers actually are. I've dealt with it with online people. I've dealt with it in the real world with real life people a bunch. Believe me. They start asking you questions. They want to know about this, but as soon as you start going too deep for them, then they want to turn around back on you and start acting like you're the enemy when they were the ones that came to you asking for information in the first place. I've gotten that a lot. Again, if you don't want the real truth, don't ask the real questions. But, Bill Cooper, I mean, people always ask me what do you think, And listen, it's not. I've done my own independent research in this. Listen, you know, he's been. God, I don't even want to say this. I've told this to several people off air and stuff, and it always makes people butthurt. But you know, you can look into it for yourself. I'm not saying anything isn't true, but listen, the guy was not. He was just as much a plan as Alex Jones or anybody else. That's number one. That's not the end all be all. I'm going to lay it out for you. But number one, you need to know that right off the bat. The guy was in the ONI, for Christ's sakes. You know what the ONI, most people probably don't even know what the ONI is. He was in the ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. Go do some research into ONI. Go look at the people that were involved in the Kennedy assassination that were in the ONI. The Office of Naval Intelligence. It's like the Navy's own internal CIA, essentially. And everybody knows the stuff about how, you know, he came out with the alien stuff. And then later he came out and said he didn't believe in the alien stuff. And it was all, you know, the government was all concocting and stuff. I mean, the guy was a disinformation agent, 100%. But aside from all that, the main thing is the stuff surrounding his death. And, you know, he's hailed as a hero and, oh, he was shot to death. Oh, listen, I hate to have to be the bearer of bad news, but if you actually research that and look into all that stuff for yourself, you'll find out all that's bullshit. Okay? But most of you are not going to look into it yourself. You're just going to go, how dare you? Bill Cooper's my hero. You probably wouldn't bother to go read the police reports and go read the autopsy. How about that? How many of you done that? How many of you actually have gone and read Bill Cooper's autopsy? This guy was not fucking murdered for being a truth teller. How do you think? Ask yourself this. How do you think Alex Jones was talking about there was going to be an attack and they were going to blame it on bin Laden, you know, a couple of weeks before 9/11? And then on the day of 9/11, Bill Cooper's on air saying, don't believe anything anybody says about this right now, talking about the attacks on 9/11, especially Alex Jones. Now, he could make that statement the same way Alex Jones could make the statement about there being an attack, a false flag attack to blame on bin Laden before 9/11 happened. The reason both those could make those statements is because both of those guys were working for the same, getting their information and talking for it from the same place. Bill Cooper was just as much of a plant as Alex Jones. And all these people don't want to accept that fact. But that's a fact. And this whole thing about, oh, they murdered him. They didn't murder him, okay? If you really want to get down to the truth about the death of Bill Cooper, forget all the other stuff. I'm just talking about his death, which has elevated him to Dionysian cult-like status and had him revered as a hero and a martyr and all this. And I'm here to tell you that his death was just as phony and just as much bullshit as him being some legitimate truth teller. If you read the autopsy reports of Bill Cooper, the guy was dying of all kinds of shit. Go read. He didn't have long to live. If you read his autopsy report, he had all kinds of health stuff wrong with him that was going to go tits up on him any day. The guy was not going to live much longer. And it's clear that he knew that. Then you go read the police reports. People talk about, oh, the sheriffs came out on his property. They shot him to death. Do understand that the cops only came out there and were only on his property because he called them 3 times in one day? You understand that, right? The only time they were ever, people make it sound like they just stormed his property and shot him to death because he was a truth teller. That's the narrative that a lot of people actually believe, folks. That's not the case. He called the sheriff's department 3 separate times on the day of his death and asked them to come to his house to investigate a trespasser, which they never found any evidence of in 3 different tries. Then the third time, when they came out there, and they're saying, look, Mr. Cooper, we've searched your entire property. We have not seen any evidence or anything of there being any trespasser here or anybody trying to get on your land. And that's when supposedly he had the gun or whatever and waved it out. And look, his death was suicide by cop. 100%. 100%. That's the hard truth about Bill Cooper nobody wants to hear. His death was suicide by cop. Go read the police reports. Go read his autopsy reports. He knew that, I think at one point he thought he was doing the right thing and then realized he was a stooge in a plant. And he thought he was operating off the reservation and then realized, wait a minute, I'm just still on the reservation. They just tricked me into thinking that I'm, some rogue alternative media figure. I think he realized that. And he realized the only way that his legacy was going to be cemented was if he was martyred. If he just died, he was probably going to die in the next few months from either heart disease, liver failure, a whole raft of medical things that you can go and read in his autopsy report that they found when they did his autopsy. I got to warn you, it's gruesome. And, it's not for the faint of heart to read his autopsy report. You've got to have a strong stomach for it. But the fact of the matter is, what makes more sense, ladies and gentlemen, that the cops who had never had a problem out there in, I believe it was Arizona, where he'd never had a problem before. They want, people want you to believe that it was just, they killed him. The government killed him because no, bullshit. That was suicide by cop. He called those sheriffs out to his property. They didn't come on his property uncalled or just for no reason. They were only there because he called them there 3 separate times claiming there was a prowler and a trespasser when there was not. And on the third time, he started waving a gun around at them, just like you see in these videos. See, back then we didn't have videos and stuff. Now we've seen enough cases of these. I see them every week, these suicide by cop cases. He knew what he was doing. He knew exactly that the narrative would be, because he knew it was 2 weeks after 9/11. He knew he probably didn't have much longer to live. He never talked about on his show about his health problems or anything else. But when you look at, clearly he had to have known. He didn't. He would have probably only lived, I don't know, maybe 6 more months after that. He had advanced heart disease. He had a bunch of, it's medical jargon, but basically fatty liver and a bunch of serious medical issues. But if Bill Cooper would have just died of natural causes, would he be held in the same reverence that he is today? No. No, it's much more sexy and it's much more, conspiratorial to spin the narrative that Bill Cooper was shot in cold blood by rogue sheriff deputies paid for by the New World Order and the fucking government and the CFR, whatever, and took him out because he exposed Alex Jones and whatever else. Man, that's just a lie. It was suicide by cop. I know you don't want to hear that. I know that's not the awesome, real cool fucking story narrative that everybody wants to build up. But the fact of the matter is, man, Bill Cooper was not a hero. He was just as much a plane. I think at some point, he probably did have a conscience and realized what was going on and realized the only way that he had to cement because otherwise people were just going to realize eventually. So I don't think he was a bad guy. I think some of the information he put out was good. A lot of it is still in the territory of, not what he tells you, but what he doesn't tell you. But really the biggest thing I have a problem with is this whole bullshit narrative about his death, about him being some kind of martyr that was gunned down in cold blood because of him being a truth teller and a whistleblower, and that's just not the facts. When you read the police reports and you look at the autopsy reports, the most realistic conclusion you can come to is that this was suicide by cop. He knew what they would. He didn't shoot the cops. He did just like these clowns you see in these videos now. They wave fake guns. Recently a girl waved a fake gun. She got shot down by a cop. That guy in Dallas I talked about, that active shooter we had at the federal building a month or so ago, was clearly suicide by cop. The amount of weapons that guy had and everything else, man, he could have took out. Nobody even got so much as hurt. He was armed for bear. He could have took out 100 people with that shit, maybe more. Yeah, he takes out nobody and gets shot, right outside the building. It was clear that was suicide by cop. And it's the same thing with the Bill Cooper thing, man. And people ask me what I think about Bill Cooper, and then I tell them that, and then they get butthurt and mad at me. And the truth's not comfortable, man. It's not warm and fuzzy. The truth is not warm and fuzzy. It's not. I've never known the truth to be warm and fuzzy. It's ugly and dirty and makes you feel like you need to shower 4 or 5 times a day. But to try to shoehorn it into anything else or try to pretend that it's anything else other than that is delusional. I'll tell you, man, this stuff that's why I had to, after I did the Secret Volume 2, man, I was ready to go kicking and screaming, running into anything else other than that. And that's how I'm going to be when I'm done with the Spellcaster stuff. Because it tries on your soul after a while, man. When you're just constantly reading about these sickos, you got to get away from it because it gets to you after a while. But if you want somebody that's going to sugarcoat the information and strictly tell you only what you want to hear and only the things that fit in your already pre-established truth, conspiracy, paradigm narrative, that's not me. I'm only going to give it to you straight. And I guarantee you there's going to be people listen to this now, they're going to be butthurt because I talked about the real truth of Bill Cooper. And you know what? Again, that's on you. That's not on me, man. I'm only here to give you the unfiltered, 100% unwatered down truth. And if you can't handle it and you don't like that and it makes your butt hurt, that's on you. You don't shoot the messenger. It's interesting, man, how you find stuff, too. How I've talked about it. Happens to me quite regularly, but it's interesting how, as I've talked about before, I find stuff. That's how you know you're on the path, man, when you find stuff when you're not even looking for it. It happens all the time to me. And I think a lot of that also has to do with, because I am constantly always looking at this stuff, I've got a lot more frames of reference in my brain than probably a lot of other people do. So when I hear something, it can immediately just lead me down a rabbit hole. I was watching this, I remember how I fell down the rabbit hole of this. You know how it is on YouTube. You'll watch one thing, and the next thing you know, you watch 50 videos on something. There's that, I remember seeing this guy. And I'd go over to friend's house on the weekends when I was in high school and stuff. And they'd have satellite, and you'd watch Much Music out of Canada, which was the Canadian MTV. And I remember seeing this guy. And he's still around, and he does current interviews still. This guy, Nardwuar, the human serviette. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with this guy. But yeah, I remember seeing him do stuff on Much Music and stuff back in the 90s. He's done a lot of legendary interviews, and he's a very unorthodox shtick and sort of act that he does to interview people. And he always gives them gifts and asks them questions about stuff. And one of the things that's interesting in his, I've seen enough of his interviews now. I don't remember what it was. I saw one and it led me down a hole of watching others. And what's interesting is that one thing I've noticed through the years, it's kind of made me suspicious of the guy. Like I think this guy's I think he's, I don't know, man. I can't really speculate to say exactly who it is that he works for, or if he's CIA or this, that, or the other. But I've noticed that he has some scary amount of detail and information sometimes about people that he interviews. And there's hundreds of examples of this. You can go watch his videos where he's literally freaking people out because he's asking them about stuff that they never have said to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, let's say that you this is just a theoretical example, but let's say that you touched yourself in the bathroom at church in 3rd grade, and literally fucking nobody, you never told nobody, you never told your best friend, your cousin, your aunt, you never fucking told nobody, dude. And fucking Nardwuar would be like, so you touched yourself in the bathroom in the church in 3rd grade, right? Can you tell us about that? And they'll be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck do you know? He gets like personal shit. And the rappers, that's what's hilarious. The rappers get really freaked out. I've seen at least, I don't know, 7 or 8 rappers be like, yo, dog, you with the feds? Yo, this nigga with the feds, man. Go watch. You can go watch. That's an exact quote. Go. There's here's where you should start. Rappers Mind Blown by Nardwuar. Start at part 1 and go just watch them all. They're all good. They're like part 5. Nardwuar, in case you want to know. So it is Nardwuar. I'm sorry, Nardwuar. And one of the things that you find in his interviewing is that he's like never wrong. This is what's crazy. He's like never wrong. Hardly ever. Sometimes it's like a story's a little bit twisted and they correct him on it. But 99% of the time, this guy comes with stuff. He'll be like, so I hear you like Cool G rap. And I'll give him like a Cool G rap record and be like, dude, I've never even told anybody in my life that I like Cool G rap. I never even told my mom I like. There's no way you could know this. Over and over and over again. He actually did an interview back in the night. He did an interview with Nirvana. There's a Nirvana one from like right before Kurt died. And even the Queen CIA herself, dude, you got to remember, he's doing this right now today, doing the same thing. This is early 90s. And even CIA Corny herself was going, how do you know that? How do you know that? He's asking Kurt about certain things to certain people. And she's freaking out. She's Miss Know-It-All Queen, Miss CIA. And Nardwuar is sitting there blowing their minds. So go watch some of those rappers Mind Blown by Nardwuar, because he pulls this stuff out. And every time they ask him, like, yo, how do you know? How did you know that? He won't ever say, he's always cagey. He will never say, we got it from this person or that person or this way. He never says. He always says, well, you're Ludacris. We have to know. He just inserts name of, well, you're Kurt Cobain. We have to know. He never, ever says, and it's like intense, like shit only like 2 people on earth knows, and somehow this guy's finding out about it. And there's been a few rappers where they're like, dude, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. He's like, so your aunt owns a fried chicken stand in North Carolina? And like, he's never said that whoever this guy is or the rapper is has never said that in an interview, has never said that to anybody. Nobody should even know about it. It's like it does seem almost like he's going into, like he's got access to like wiretaps and personal info stuff and he's not telling anybody how he has access to this. And the interesting one, so here's what you do first. Go watch the Rapper's Mind Blown by Nardwuar compilations. There's like 5 of them. Go watch those. Then once you watch those, go watch Nardwuar versus Vanilla Ice. Now this is what caught my attention, because again, there aren't really, there's a couple times, like I've said, where he's said stories to them and the person will be like, well, that's kind of true. But 99% of the time, he's hitting them with his info is 99% of the time 100% correct in scary ways. Now, you all know about the Corey Feldman stuff. Corey Feldman's been in the news for a while. He's been talking about it. He's got info to blow open the Hollywood pedophile thing, and he was trying to raise like $4 million to make a fucking documentary that I could make for less than $4,000. And, he's never really came out with any information, which has always been suspect. I don't doubt that the guy knows something. I don't doubt that he's got dirt, but why doesn't he just come out with it? It's not like he has a career to worry about. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the guy, I mean, if he was one of these guys that was still a working actor and had would worry about not getting parts in Hollywood, okay, I can see. The guy has nothing to lose. There's always been something shady and just untrustworthy, and we're not getting the whole story type stuff surrounding Corey Feldman. I always felt that. To me, my conclusion is that the reason he hasn't come out and said any of this stuff is because, listen, it's one thing for stuff that happened when he was a minor, stuff that he happened with a child, that sucks. I'm fucking, and I feel bad that happened to him. I honestly do. But what he's not being clear about is that, and I think this is, in my opinion, this is why he doesn't come forward with any of this stuff, is that he's still involved in that kind of stuff and has been involved in all that kind of stuff ever since. And so anything that he might, dirt that he might have on somebody or anybody and other people in Hollywood, there are probably 10 times that amount of people, witnesses and people who have stuff and have seen him do homosexual activity and stuff like that. One of the people that is talked about in conspiratorial circles as being, there's a lot of people that, people, conspiracy theorists and other people have theorized that there's a lot of people they think are, especially now, since we've had more of an acceptance of the LGBTQ thing and all that stuff. But, there's a whole raft of people out there that think that Michelle Obama is actually a man. And I got to be honest with you, that wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. Definitely got manly features. There's no question about that. But another one that people speculate on is, and have talked about being a man, and I don't doubt this one either, is the supermodel Naomi Campbell. And it's been rumored for years that Naomi Campbell was actually a man. And that when she was a young boy, there was some, this is the rumor. Again, I'm just speculating here. This is the rumor. The rumor is that when she was a young boy, there was some sort of, like a gender reassignment surgery competition or something on TV. And she won it and became a woman, and then went on, became, got the sex change, and then became Naomi Campbell, the supermodel. And I was trying to look into that, and I couldn't really find anything, but I did find this, and I think is interesting. and again, I don't know if this means anything, but it's interesting that she would be involved in this. Apparently, there was a LGBT movie that was made in 2013 called Naomi Campbell. And check this out. This is a description of that movie. It says, blending documentary and fiction. Now, wait a minute. Is it because this is being presented as a fictional movie. So what part of it would be documentary? This is what I'm trying to figure out. So listen to this. This is the description of this movie called Naomi Campbell. Blending documentary and fiction, the film follows a poor transgender woman in Chile who hears about a plastic surgery TV competition. She decides to try it out to pursue her gender reassignment surgery. There, she meets an enigmatic woman who hopes to emulate fashion icon Naomi Campbell. The film gains gravitas through its unforced look at class, race, and gender. Well, wait a second. So the rumor is that this whole story about Naomi Campbell winning this competition, that's the whole rumor, right? And then they happen to make a fucking movie that they claims blends documentary and fiction. Now, wait a minute. What part of that is documentary? They don't tell you that. Blending documentary and fiction, the film follows a poor transgender woman in Chile who hears about a plastic surgery TV competition. She decides to try it out to pursue her gender reassignment surgery. There, she meets an enigmatic woman who hopes to emulate fashion icon Naomi Campbell. Notice it says that, now back that up. So she hears about the plastic surgery TV competition. She decides to try it out. Right? So, and while she's there, that's what this says. The description is, while she's there, at the competition for the gender reassignment surgery, she meets an enigmatic woman who hopes to emulate fashion icon Naomi Campbell. Now, think about that. So they're at a contest for reassignment surgery. It's a man becoming a woman, and she hopes to emulate Naomi Campbell. Why would she want to emulate Naomi Campbell? How is becoming a woman from a man emulating Naomi Campbell unless Naomi Campbell himself did it in real life? Right? Then there's this other comment in a news story. I owe my life to gay men. Naomi Campbell speaks out at red carpet event. So, back to Nardwuar. After you watch the rapper's Mind Blown by Nardwuar, go watch Nardwuar versus Vanilla Ice. And in there, this is again how I believe that Nardwuar is some sort of agent. Because I've been at concerts and been at music festivals and stuff, and you can, if you listen to the way certain people talk to you, you can pick out who the narcs and the undercovers are. I remember I was at a rave one time back in the 90s, and some dude, was trying to act like, oh, hey man, act like he was some regular dude. Hey, who's running this thing, man? Hey, who's putting this on? And hey, who are the big acid dealers here? And this, man, I know you're a fucking narc. Fuck out of here, and I won't have 10 people beat your ass. You see them heading for the door. I mean, you can sniff them out, and that's how Nardwuar, when he's talking to Ice, watch the little trick he does. It's genius. It's genius. This is how he gets him. He says, Vanilla Ice, I heard a rumor that you once attended a party at Naomi Campbell's house. And he says, yes, I did. Yeah, actually, that's 100% true. So that's how that was smart. See, he hit him with that first, right? He got Vanilla Ice to verify that he once attended was invited to a party, a private party at Naomi Campbell's house, right? So he gets him to verify that. That way, what he hits him with the second part, he can't get him to back out of it because he's already got him to confirm with the first question that he indeed was at that party. So he says, yeah, I was at the party. He goes, oh, okay. And we have reports that you were seen necking in a hot tub with Corey Feldman, and fucking, of course, you can see it in his eyes that he's freaking out, and then there's an edit, and there's a cut right there. And I went, wait a minute. You remember that fucking terrible movie Vanilla Ice did? Remember Cold as Ice? Remember that shit? Who starred in that movie with him? Naomi Campbell. And I went, motherfucker. Nardwuar just fucking got his ass and may have exposed a much larger thing here. Think about that. So Naomi Campbell's actually a man. We have all the stories we've heard of Corey Feldman knowing all about this Hollywood underground pedophile stuff, but yet never wants to come out with any information. And then we've got Vanilla Ice and him in a hot tub making out at Naomi Campbell's house, and we find this stuff about her having reassignment surgery. I went, holy fucking shit. And when you watch those other interviews, man, people get scared. There's some of these black guys are like, they really are like, motherfucker, are you with the feds? Motherfucker, are you CIA? Like, seriously, because there's some shit like he'll be like, oh, you used to eat pinto beans at your grandmother's house on Tuesdays. Like, yo, my grandma had been dead 20 years. How do you know that? There's no way you could know that. Like, seriously, go on. It's more than once. It's all the time. It's people get scared. Because he'll never tell them where he gets this info at. Where, like, there's like, dude, I never even told anybody that story. Like, you once fell asleep on a subway. Yo, I never told anybody that. There's no way nobody can know that. How do you know that? I think Nardwuar inadvertently exposed some serious shit there. Because it didn't seem odd. Like, why would he just ask him, oh, you once attended Naomi Campbell's house, a party at Naomi Campbell's house. Okay, so what? But then he hits it with, and you were making out in the hot tub with Corey Feldman. He tries to shut it down on instant. Dude, you can tell he got him. And like I said, when you look at all the other times that Nardwuar has been 100% accurate with his information, there's no reason to think he's not 100% accurate about that. And that's why I think Corey Feldman has not been forthcoming about everything he knows, because he's still involved in that world himself and was involved with it well after, the sick stuff and molestations that happened to him. And that's when he was a teenager. And that's, the case with all this stuff. Like I talked about in The Secret Right Volume 2 with Johnny Gosch and, the disappearance of Johnny Gosch and Johnny being disappeared and then becoming Jeff Gannon. And then next thing you know, he's Jeff Gannon. He's in the fucking White House press corps lobbing softball questions at Bush. That's how this stuff works, man. And it's very possible that, Vanilla Ice was one of those that was brought in at a very young age to that stuff. Man, it's crazy. You just never know. I'm telling you, you just never know where and when you're going to find the truth, because you find it sometimes in these crazy, unexpected places and ways. And like I said, I find it oftentimes like that when I'm not even looking for it, when I'm just trying to have some downtime and watch, silly YouTube videos or whatever. That's just fucking crazy. And that Courtney Love, that Nirvana one too, where even Courtney's like, how do you know that? How do you can tell she's mad? That's what I think is interesting about it. And all the stuff I've uncovered now on Courtney that's going in Spellcasters too. It was like she was mad. You could tell, man. Almost like she was insulted that there's somebody else in the room that has more information than her or as much as her. You could tell it was making her suspicious. Like, how does he know that? That was a big one for me where I was like, man, this motherfucker, I think he He just acts like this goofy, weird dressed guy from Canada. No, there's something else going on with this guy, man. You can tell. Well, I mean, some of the rappers get really, truly frightened. Like, he literally will break out stuff about your third grade teacher that fucking nobody knows. And just from my own research, my own knowledge, to me, it sounds like he's pulling stuff out of like wiretaps, stuff that's in like FBI files, because they keep extensive data records and stuff. That's the only place you could be able to get some of this information. But he'll never say, they always ask, man, you got to tell me, at least tell me off air how you got that information. He won't ever say. But I've talked about that for years. Those are the best, man. Those are the best kind of agents, the best kind of people. They've got those. They are throughout Hollywood. They are throughout the music industry. And many of these guys, as I've said, and as I'll be showing in the Spellcasters 2 and 3, a lot of these people are generational. They're brought up in it. And I think there's way more of them out there, and have been way more of these type of people, these MK Ultra type of people, in all walks of life, in walks of life that maybe we've overlooked at times. Especially like, we can give examples of this in Hollywood, in movies, TV, music, stuff like that. But you got to think that this is also gone on. There are examples of these type of people in other walks of life, like finance and industry and Silicon Valley. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some of those people that have come out of Silicon Valley that we don't know about or haven't really got onto yet, that probably were at some point, one of these childhood MK Ultra people. I'm going to give you an example of one that I think is one of those. Is this Elizabeth Holmes? You know what I'm talking about? The Theranos chick. Have you guys seen the if you haven't seen it, homework assignment. Remember the guy, Alex Gibney, the guy that did the Scientology Going Clear documentary? He's got a new one out. Oh, fuck. You can just type Alex Gibney. I'm sure you just type Alex Gibney Theranos into a search engine. You'll find out. I just don't have the name of it off the top of my head right now. But anyway, it's a brand new. I think it just came out in the past week or so. I'm not really sure when it came out. I just watched it. So to me, I guess it just came out a week ago. It could have come out 6 months ago. I don't know. All I know is it's done by Alex Gibney, who did the Going Clear documentary, and it's on Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. And I saw a video and I saw pictures of her throughout the whole time this whole thing was going on. She's got those Sanpaku eyes. You know what I'm talking about? Go do a search on that, Sanpaku eyes. I've just called them crazy eyes. I guess the technical term is Sanpakus. But you always see mind control MK Ultra people with eyes like this, like fucking eyes like Charles Manson, and what was the guy that did the Batman shooting in Colorado? And what's her name? AOC. She's got the fucking crazy Sanpaku eyes. I mean, this is one of the key elements of people who are undergoing and have undergone these MK Ultra mind control program scenarios. And a lot of them don't blink. That's the other thing about Elizabeth Holmes. She doesn't blink. Very rarely blinks. She just looks completely like she's under mind control. And that's what I was saying. I was thinking that, like, I think there are more of these types of people out there than we've even been aware of, because we're only sort of looking at them in certain things like the music industry, Hollywood, that kind of thing. But I think 100% Elizabeth Holmes is another one of these. When you look at the pictures of her when she was a kid, she the eyes seem a lot more, they don't seem dead. She doesn't look like that. She doesn't have the dead eyes yet. So all these people, they just get the dead eyes. After they go, there's just no light there anymore. And Alex Gibney, I have to say, as a documentary filmmaker, listen, not everybody, I understand. I get it. There are going to be people, especially if you're working for fucking HBO or something. Not everybody can make conspiracy documentaries. I get that. I understand that. I appreciate that. And I'm not expecting every documentary that's made to go as deep as I would go or something, you know. But I think the thing with Gibney is I think Alex Gibney actually knows. In fact, I'm certain of it. I think he actually knows and is informed to a much higher degree than anything he can put in his documentaries because, as I said, of course, you know, if HBO's footing the bill, if I made a documentary and HBO was footing the bill, do you think I would be able to make that documentary with all the type of information that I would have in one of my independently released films? Hell no. Not in a million years. And I would know that going in. It would just be a thing like, well, okay, I'm going to get that HBO money. But I'll still do my own documentaries, you know, independent or whatever, but I'll go get that HBO money and do one for them on their terms, whatever. And, you know, people will understand and get that. I kind of got that impression when I watched his Going Clear documentary. I was like, this guy knows way more than he's talking about, but he's you know, he's effectively doing the CYA and covering his ass. And, you know, avoiding any scrutiny that they might put on him. But, because, you know, he did actually briefly mention the whole black magic stuff, but I was mad because he didn't give anybody any information on it. And that should have been the basis of his whole documentary. If you're going to expose Scientology, as I did in the Spellcasters Volume 1, that better be the basis of your whole thing. It's stemming from MK Ultra. It's stemming from black magic. Even, you know, again, even before MK Ultra, going back to the Nazi stuff they were doing with trying to create robotically controlled soldiers using black magic. We took all that stuff lock, stock, and barrel over here after Paperclip, and that's what the MK Ultra program was built off of. So when I watched his Elizabeth Holmes Theranos documentary, before going in, I was okay, I'm going to watch his, you know, like I watched Going Clear, and he did the same thing. I was very pleased. Actually, my respect level actually went up for him again, because I'm convinced now after watching the Elizabeth Holmes Theranos documentary that, yes, he indeed does know more than he is going to talk about and be able to put in a HBO film. But I think he likes to drop little clues. I think that mention of the black magic stuff that I elaborate on in the Spellcasters 1, I think his brief mentioning of that in Going Clear was one of those examples. And there's a couple examples in this film as well, where if you have the extended knowledge beyond mainstream narratives from, you know, shows like mine and films like mine and stuff, if you already have that extended knowledge beyond official narratives, then some of the little stuff he puts in there is going to allow you to kind of get a better picture of what's going on. And that happened for me in this documentary. With her clothes, the way they talk about her clothes, and she wears the same exact thing every single day. She's got 100 different. That's very uniform, very, very soldier-like. It really reminded me of you know, the tie-in with I mentioned the O&I earlier, with the O&I and the OSS and the CIA stuff. L. Ron Hubbard was in. Then, you know, the sort of naval references and the ships and stuff with Scientology, and, you know, seeing Tom Cruise and Miscavige, and they're wearing fucking like military uniforms and fucking saluting each other and stuff. To see in this documentary, Elizabeth Holmes, she's wearing basically the same thing every day, the uniform, and there's like an audio clip in there where they play her saying, "I've worn turtlenecks every day of my life since I was 8 years old." Oh, wait. That was a terrible impersonation of Liz Holmes. I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me get a more appropriate. If you've never heard this woman talk, you should. "I've worn turtlenecks every day of my life since I was 8 years old. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Holmes. I created Theranos. and I rip people off for $9 billion. This is our project. This is what we're going to do. What the fuck? Damn, girl, did your nuts drop? I think I know why she's been wearing a fucking turtleneck since she's 8 years old. She's been trying to cover up that fucking Adam's apple. I think we got another. I seriously started thinking, especially after I had looked at that Naomi Campbell stuff. When I was watching that documentary, I was like, oh shit. Maybe she was once a boy. I don't know. But you swear to God, she has a voice. Her voice is just like it's freakishly low. You're like, I mean, listen, I got an unusual voice too. I'm not making fun of anybody out of school here, but when you look at her face, you expect a voice, any other voice than the one that comes out of her pie hole is what you expect to hear. I'm not kidding you. It's that dramatic. Oh, created Theranos. You're like, good God. You on the TRT, girl? You shitting some fucking Diana ball or something? Yeah, damn. But, yeah, I was just watching this. I was like, man, I bet she's one of those types that I've been trying to find and figure out, one of those examples, those MK Ultra people where, you know, you see the need to have them in you know, you see the stuff in the music industry, the movie industry. We've talked about, you know, being able to gain control over these fortunes and over the licensing money, the licensing rights and all that stuff, the catalogs. But seeing all that money, especially in the, you know, in the sort of the boom of the Silicon Valley stuff, you could see where the powers that be would want to have a plant in that world, just like they have plants in every other world. And I really think that they built up this company, put her MK Ultra ass in it. What was it, valued like $10 billion or something at some point? And then what happens eventually? Well, you know, goes to court, federal trial. You know, it's just the same thing with like El Chapo and all those guys. You know, all the bullshit. We put these guys in power, and then, you know, like the whole thing with El Chapo. I mean, the guy was 100% a government agent. But this is what they do, man. This is how they. How do you think a guy like? I mean, how do you think these guys really, truly gain wealth? That's how they do it. And then there was a revelation in that documentary that confirmed all of it for me. Who was one of the main investors in Theranos with Elizabeth Holmes? I didn't know this till watching the documentary. Then it all made sense. Then I threw my hands up. Well, there it is. There it is. There's another case of me being suspicious about something being proven right yet again. Henry Kissinger, ladies and gentlemen. Henry Kissinger was one of the investors in Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. And I just threw my hands up and said, well, we can close the books on that one, boys. There it is. And there was like a recording, like an interview recording of him, where the guy asked him like something like, you know, why do you think she would be, why is she good to run a company like this? And the reason that Kissinger gives is because he says because she has a very ethereal quality about her. Does that not strike anybody else a little bit odd? If you don't know Henry Kissinger's resume and what he's done in his life, you should go look that up. Since when has someone being ethereal been the best reason for them to be in charge of a $1 billion company? Never. The way he says it almost like a code, almost like, well, because she has an ethereal property about her, meaning like she's a closer. People, and listen, those MK Ultra people, they also, I'll show you in Spellcasters 2 and 3, once they get it, and this is what Courtney Love's dad was all at the forefront of. Once they get one of these people into one of these MK Ultra mind-controlled slaves, they can then, that person then has the ability to turn other people into those as well, without even really know they're even doing it, because it's programmed into their psyche. It's very hard to explain and put into words, much less put on the in a fucking film. But all the people that work for her talk about, feeling like they were under a spell and feeling like they, this is 100% what this was, man. And when you go back to like what I talked about in Spellcasters 1 with Kissinger and his involvement with, I talk about it in the film, but, the whole Catcher in the Rye stuff. He was at the forefront of that with mind control. So, of course, as soon as I heard Kissinger was involved in the Theranos thing with Elizabeth Holmes, all my theories and assumptions about her possibly being involved in MK Ultra and this being a much larger scam to get people to invest in this company, and then, these government people come in and have court challenges and they take the company down, and then where does all that money go? Where's all, when they bust El Chapo and all that stuff, where does all that go? Man, it gets cut up and divvied up in between, and people are getting rich off. It's another scam to scheme, dude. They've been doing it for years. That's why certain musicians and certain musical acts and stuff, they get controlled, and they don't even know that it's happening to them. They don't even know that one day they're going to get the plug pulled on them. The death is going to look like natural causes. And then the general public's not even going to ask, hey, where's all that money going to now? Every time one of these people dies, their catalogs go through the roof. They go back in the charts. Where's all that money going to? Who's reaping from that? It's the same thing here. It's the same thing with the Elizabeth Holmes thing. Reality itself is so much scarier than even people who claim to search the truth and are searching for the truth even know and are willing to accept. And I think that's kind of the whole theme of this entire show tonight. Crazy, crazy stuff. I got some more news and some other crazy stuff to get into, but I'm going to get in that for you tomorrow night. I'm going to get back to work here on the film. Listen, we've had very little operate on this month. We've got to keep the internet on. We've got to have $200 in here by tomorrow. And that's our goal from last week. That's not even our weekly goal from this week. So as long as we get $200 in here tomorrow, another couple hundred in or so by Friday, buy yourself downloads. Get yourself the documentary, complete Josh Reeves collection, all my audiobooks, all my films, all my presentations, everything's in the download shop. It's on sale this week for only $150. If you contribute $200, you can get the full collection, downloads collection sent to you, and a question for the show. $100 will get you a question on the show. We've got a fundraiser going on to try to get a new computer in here. Support that if you can. Really, the operating cost is the number one thing, but if you don't want to put towards the operating cost, you want to put towards helping us get a new computer, please do that. Get yourself an archive membership. I'm not going to be putting full shows on YouTube much longer. You want to stay current with all the shows, you can do that. Lifetime memberships are usually $500. They're on sale for $300 right now. All the links can be found in the comment section of this video and in the information section of the video on YouTube. You can also find the links to the support stuff at the Facebook pages, Josh Reeves, filmmaker, talk show host, explorer page, and the Global Reality Radio Network Facebook page as well, theglobalreality.com. We have a donate button there. You can contribute if you don't want to use PayPal and you want to contribute with a prepaid card or a credit card, debit card. Use the donate button at theglobalreality.com. I love you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.